Hi,
Hi,
welcome. I'm
Keith.
Keith. Hey, Christine, and welcome everybody who's joining on LinkedIn or YouTube. We have an interactive session here called Navigating New Email Spam Rules for Sales Success. And I'll tell you what, this is really big. It seems like the Y2K of email marketing. And as a content producer and creator, one of our best distribution channels is through email. And I was absolutely surprised a few weeks ago when we started working with Christine. Welcome, Christine Labate, growth marketer. You've been helping us with our getting ready for these changes announced by Google and Yahoo. So thank you.
No problem, Keith. So I am Christine Labate. My studio is Designs for Growth, and we are here to help you do just that through graphic design and marketing. My specialty is email marketing. Did you know that every dollar you spend on email marketing will generate a $36 to $50 return? Should generate. But if your email isn't going to the inbox, you're not going to get that return. That's why I'm a zero bounce partner. They help emails get delivered.
Yeah.
Improve your deliverability.
So this really brought up a memory for me. It was probably 1995, and I remember getting my first email from a Nigerian prince, and he said if I would just make access to my bank account, he would deposit $1 million so that he could get this transaction done, and he really needed my help. And I thought about it, this is the end of an era, because Yahoo and the other email service providers sync this up. It's going to be more like cell phone, right? Private, caller ID. You can filter out calls that you don't want, emails that you don't want, and the responsibility is on the mass senders, the email marketers. So fill us in a little bit about what's going on.
Well, in October, Google announced that any email that has not been accessed in the last 2 years is going to be deleted. So this means that if, say, my Christine Labate at Hotmail, I haven't used it, somebody else can now claim that. So I'm sending an email to Christine Labate, but it's not the right one, and that's going to get marked as spam. So this deleting started in December, and it's going to continue.
So if I heard you, that's twofold. Number one, it's not when they delete it, it'll be a bounce, but somebody then could come and claim it, and now you're sending to the wrong person.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's why it's so important to authenticate. And in February, that's this month, they phrase it kind of loosely, Yahoo does at least. Beginning in February, enforcement of the following sending standards will take effect. Ensure you meet these requirements in order to avoid a negative impact to your delivery of your email at Yahoo domains. Enforcement will be gradually rolled out as we monitor compliance for the first half of the year. Things are subject to change, so please monitor this channel.
I think it's also similar with Google, and it's kind of the way SEO algorithm changes roll out, right? They watch the data, they're really trying to deliver an excellent customer service, and so it's in flux. You're never going to have a cookie cutter way to deal with this. Tell me this: I mail less than 5,000 emails a month, right? That's who this is targeted to. The bulk senders, the email marketers. Why should I care if I just send out 2,000 a month?
Because this is the first step. First it's going to be 5,000, then it's going to be 1,000, then maybe 100. It's just best practices. What they're asking for, I've done since the beginning. Do you want me to tell you a little bit more about these?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the new security updates are your email must have a one-click unsubscribe method. Now that's on your email service provider. They're going to take care of that for you. But you do need to honor the unsubscribe within 2 days. And your spam compliance rate must be below 3%, 3 for every 1,000 emails. Zero Bounce
So,
recommends that Zero Bounce recommends that it's 1 per every 1,000.
so when you have these emails being deleted, that actually is going to increase your bounce rates.
Yes, exactly. You're going to have more hard bounces.
And so
And
getting to that 0.1% is even harder.
exactly. This would be a great time to authenticate your list, to send an email out to all of them and say, hey, I'm changing my list up. Do you still want to be on it? If you do, click here. That way, you know you've got an engaged audience that wants your message.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sending to an audience that doesn't want it, you're not going to get opened. Your email's not going to get interacted with. And the person might even mark you as spam. And if you get enough spam complaints, your emails will not be delivered.
Again, that's down to 0.1% of your email blast, right? That Google, and that 5,000, as I understand from Google, is if you send 5,000 emails that arrive to a Google address, that's how they're going to measure it. So
But it's also
a Gmail address, I should say.
Yeah, it's not just your large campaign sends. So I'm in an office with, I don't know, 100 people.
Right.
I may send an email that goes to 4,000 people, but there's other people in my office that are sending emails back and forth to those domains all day, and that is included in your number.
Right, right. So you can see how important it is to manage this. Let's go through some of the things you can do to adapt to these changes. When we preparing for the call, we came up with a list of things to do. The first one was audit your email list. I think we kind of touched on that, but there were several elements. You want to elaborate a little further?
Sure. Well, the first one is it's just that, as we talked about, email authentication isn't new, but now it's a must for inbox success. Postponing or ignoring the email authentication will cause emails to go to spam or not get delivered at all. So it's pretty serious stuff.
It is. It's very serious. We'll get into some of the
Now,
implications in a little bit. Yeah, keep going with what do we need to do to adapt?
okay. So, number one, audit your email list. Look at your list, see who you're sending to, whether they're interacting. And, it's really not the size of your list that matters. Having a list of 1,000 people who interact with your emails is really what's important. I just started working with the American Marketing Association, and I'm working on their emails with them. And they've got, I'll just give fictional numbers because I don't want to give anyone's privacy away. They've got a list of 5,000, but only 1,000 are opening that email. So in the next week, before these February events take effect, we're going to go through that list and we're going to weed out the ones.
We lost. Here we go. Bring Christine back in.
Hi.
Hey, well, technical glitch.
Yeah, it's lovely being married to a person in IT and having your internet go down in the middle of a chat. So where were we?
we were talking about how we're going to adapt, and you were touching on the way that you're working with the American Marketing Association to audit their list.
Yeah, so we're gonna. We were saying that it's not the size of the list; it's the interaction that's most important. So another thing you could do is you could warm up your IP address. and that sounds like a fancy term, but really what it is, okay, I've got at least 10 different emails and 10 different providers. Getting, 20 people to give you all their email addresses and having them go through and click on every link on it and being interactive, that would warm the IP up a little bit. Do you know how you can tell if a bot is reading your email?
No, tell me about that.
It's if it's sent to people on the Eastern time zone, and at 2 a.m. in the morning, there's a bot clicking through every single link. So that's a little trick to know that if somebody does click on all your links, they might be fake.
Interesting. So another item we discussed is the single opt-in.
Yeah. So the trend right now, because of these bots, has been to you sign up for an email, you get a confirmation, and you click on it. Now we're suggesting that you do a double opt-in. But there's certain things that you can do to make that opt-in a little easier. Okay, so you've got to join my email list. So we click on that. Once a person presses send, you want to do a pop-up saying thank you and letting them know that there's another letter coming through. And this letter it shouldn't have any navigation. It should just have the text and the button to click to resubscribe. And you could put a funny note in there like, tell me your favorite color. Something that's actually more for the second email. So we do that one, it gets sent back, and I send one more email. And this one, I'm going to ask you something like, what's your favorite color, or how often do you send emails? And then send it back to me.
And so this is ensuring that those people want to be on your list, and you're starting to have an interaction with them. And that activity, as you said, is really important.
Yeah, it's engaging your viewers.
Yeah. What are some of the procedures around this double opt-in? I know you talked about having no logo or navigation, things like that. There's some technical things you need to do, right?
What do you mean?
So within the email, you send them to a landing page, and the landing page, you want to have no logo or navigation, so that there's a technical setup beyond just having the pop-up and asking a question.
It's just to reconfirm and make sure that they're in the inbox. And also one thing that you want to say in that first email is that you're not subscribed until you click the button.
So you're essentially showing that you've got engaged subscribers and that you're aligning with the compliance standards, and now your email service provider sees that you're a marketer and mailer.
Exactly. That's going back to the authentication process. You have your sender policy framework, SPF. This is what tells your email service provider what your IP address is. It's a little technical.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why we have you.
That's why I partner with Zero Bounce, because they handle a bunch of this for me.
That's great. Well, we need tools.
Exactly. And HubSpot has a tool that monitors these things too, don't they?
I'm sorry?
Oh, HubSpot has tools that monitor these.
Yes, they do.
Okay, let me go back to the technical
We love
stuff.
HubSpot.
The domain keys identifier email, it's a snippet of code on your email that verifies that it's coming from your IP address. And the one thing that's new is the domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance. This monitors your domain, and that's really all you need to set up So basically, if you're in WordPress and you can see how many people are on your site and their IP addresses and everything like that, you've already got it set up.
We have Jess, who's added to the conversation. He says, I would suggest dispatching your emails from an established CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce to increase deliverability and decrease the spam accusations. And he also suggests running email addresses through a spam checker to see if there's any sensitivities.
Exactly. Never send emails from your Yahoo or Gmail address, because you can get your personal email address blocked. Also, the other thing to think about is with I'm zoning on the word for it.
It's all right.
Okay, so you've got different kinds of emails. You've got I can't think of the word.
We can come back to it. It'll come to you. It's all right. We're only live in front of 4 billion people here on the internet.
Oh, God. Okay,
You're doing great, Christine, and we're really, trying to educate people and get it out there. We'll come back to it. Another area that we discussed was segmentation, and you had some best practices for segmenting.
Yeah, you don't want to send the same message to a prospective customer or a current customer or past customer. So I'm a member of Chelsea Piers. If they sent me an email asking me to become a member, I would be annoyed. And that's the other thing. And if I were to mark that as spam, that would hurt their sender reputation. So we've established that we want people to be engaged, and we've gotten the email to the inbox. Now, what do we have to think about? Think about opening the email. So what would you do for your subject line? The best subject lines are short, but I run them through a tool called subjectline.com. And I also use this for my social media. It gives you 6 suggestions, like this is more authentic, this is more interactive, and it's a great tool.
So this helps you with your open rates.
Exactly.
Very cool. Another part, I think you were getting to is one-to-one versus one-to-many. And the tools like Salesforce or HubSpot, when we do HubSpot emailing, it's a one-to-one email that goes out to Dear Mary versus hello there, and sending a one-to-many, an email blast. I think that's really important. And then the segmentation, I really want to drill down on that a little bit, because we have some great points in the notes we put together before the show. The segmentation allows you to send to current customers differently than to prospective customers or to partners. And so that email subject line can be even more tailored based on the fact which list segment that you're sending to, right?
Nowadays, it's not just putting the person's name in the subject line for personalization. It's really tailoring a message that connects with that audience. So if I'm going to go back to Chelsea Piers again. If my kids are no longer the age for camp, I don't really want to receive a newsletter about the camp offerings for the summer. You really need to figure out what your audience wants and give it to them. It's the right message at the right time.
Mm-hmm. So in your Chelsea Piers example, in the same email, but on what you have done in the past, soccer or swimming or lacrosse, content of the email might be different and could be driven up entries you have in your CRM.
Exactly. So my son did basketball camp, so basketball clinics. and
Yeah.
my daughter's in gymnastics. So you really want to target, to drill down and target and give your audience what they want.
So that's a focus on quality.
Exactly. The content value cannot be overstated. It must
Another
provide
element of
tangible benefit. Oh, we were both talking. You go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I stepped on you. That's what happens when we're live. So
This is my
another
first
element,
LinkedIn Live.
another element is following the GDPR, which seems to be kind of taking the lead even here in North America.
Exactly. Anytime any of these regulations come out, even if it's not for your target market, you really need to implement them. That way you stay ahead of the curve and you get a competitive advantage. And who doesn't want a competitive advantage?
Becoming even more important today. Another element of the segmentation we talked about was using your analytics. What kind of stuff can you learn when you debrief after you've sent your emails?
Well, I feel like that should be a question for Sarah.
Well,
Sarah is our analytics guru. But, just looking at what they clicked on. Did we have any questions in the chat?
we had one I shared. That was more of a contribution from Jess. And then we had another one that talked about the one-to-one versus one-to-many. That's what we got so far.
I'm just
So
reading through them.
please bring us your questions and add to the conversation. If you've got expertise, we want to hear from you as well. As far as analytics, so you have how many were sent, how many were delivered, versus how many bounced, how many were opened, and how many were clicked on, right? Reviewing those at the end of an email cycle, you might learn from the data.
I believe the number is about 20%. You lose about 20% of your list each year. So you need to grow at another 20%. What are some ways you grow your list, Keith?
Public speaking and going live and podcasting. I also attend networking events and collect cards from people. Although these days, events, people are not as many people have cards, so we're using our phones to exchange information, sometimes through LinkedIn. So then you have to reach out on LinkedIn and start a conversation and get their email.
Yeah, LinkedIn is my first CRM, and then HubSpot. Love HubSpot. Okay, so where?
So
we need to
one
talk
of the
about
things that we're trying to do is share from an executive's or company owner standpoint the importance of doing this. So a real element of what they need to be doing is ensuring that their team gets the education and forms the partnerships like you have with Zero Bound, forming relationships with people like you that are going to keep your email in ship shape.
Yeah, I'm also a partner with Entree Positive, which is a sales tool similar to HubSpot and Constant Contact.
Mm-hmm. We love Entree Positive. All right, Eric, there's a plug for you.
Okay, so I'm looking at some of the questions. Personalization helps, so does ensuring that you have an unsubscribe link. So you have to have an unsubscribe link now, and it has to be at the top of your email. So the top of your email and the bottom of your email.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left, and we've talked about things that you should do. I wanted to dig in for a few minutes. We have a list of things that are going to happen to you if you don't do them. What are the implications of this, right? How could it harm your business? So,
I know my business or my client's business more so, they have to get into the inbox to make the sale. And if you're not in compliance with these things, there's going to be decreased email deliverability. It's just not going to get there. First, you will get quarantined, or first you will get marked as spam. And then if you get too many spam complaints, your emails won't even go through.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So this is at the email service provider level, things that they can do to throttle you back.
Yes, there's, 2 more throttles there that weren't there before. And you really need to look at your sender reputation. So if you don't have emails that people are interacting with, you're not going to get through. These are scary things.
Is there a way you can check your sender reputation?
Yes, there is a website, and we can put that in the chat afterwards, but there's a Google site where you can check it.
Talk a little bit about the legal and compliance risks. It's not just the email service providers, it's also governments and regulatory bodies.
Yes, you can get fined if you don't comply with these regulations. And, who wants to spend money? You don't have to.
Well, you might as well just shovel it into a fire. Another one we talked about was reduced engagement and conversion rates.
Yeah, if you're not providing the content that people want to hear, they're not going to interact with it. And it's going to affect your ROI.
So you're spending a lot of money to maintain your email. If you're not doing it right, you start getting lower response rates and lower engagement, then you're just spending nothing.
Yeah, you're not going to get through the inbox. And also, so somebody else takes that Christine LeBade at hotmail.com email, and it's going to completely destroy the trust if I'm sending them content that they didn't ask for.
And that's
and it's really just a missed opportunity.
It is a missed opportunity. Absolutely. I think SEO is similar in that if you follow the best practices, what you're really doing is writing for your audience, right?
Exactly.
As much as we're focused on the changes that Google and Yahoo are making, by doing this, we're actually delivering a better service and a better experience to the people we're trying to communicate with. And so these best practices are not just to do for the rules. If you follow them, you get better results.
Another thing that I just want to touch on quickly is the content in your email. Okay, you've got your subject line, and people are expecting what's in that subject line to be in the content. So you don't want to deceive them and provide something different. That's also gaining their trust. And the message needs to be fast loading, because you've got 2 to 8 seconds to get someone's attention in the inbox, and scannable. Did you know that there are, I think there's about 6 different patterns for an email, but the most common one is the Z, going from left to right and then down and then back.
So this is the way that human nature absorbs information. It's scanning, and you want to lay out your email to mimic the way that people are going to absorb the information and make it easier.
Exactly.
So these are all great practices. I just wanted to thank you so much for helping get us compliant. Email is probably one of my least favorite parts of marketing. Being a content guy and a writer, producer, and marketing consultant, I don't like to get into the details so much. And so working with you has been a pure joy, and we appreciate your service, and really glad we could go live with you. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we?
No, just that you're a great client to work for.
Well, thank you. And tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific and 11 Mountain, we will be going live again, and this time with Karen Vogel, who's an expert event marketing person. I actually did a Las Vegas trade show with her. Tom Dempsey and I have been doing our Smarketplace podcast, Sales, Marketing, and Rock and Roll. And so we would love to have you show up and hear Karen's perspective on events and how doing events is like putting on a concert. All the things that you've got to do to make them successful. And we'll also catch up with her on her favorite bands. And so thank you, Christine. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Yes, go ahead.
One final thing, guruconference.com. It's by the founder of subjectline.com. It is the best free way to keep up with email marketing trends.
There you go. Resources for you. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.